Ladies and gentlemen, be here at 9 p.m. Pacific every evening. I have the best live streams in all of YouTube, best political live stream in all of YouTube at around 9 p.m. Pacific. So be here tonight and every night, especially on November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. President Trump's going 8 years. You watch. Madam Secretary, somehow, someway, the most qualified candidate in human history will be on that ballot. But again, I've been saying 8 years for the past 4 years. So President Trump's going 8 years, and it's going to be, one of the big reasons is going to be an Atlantic article where multiple sources tell the Atlantic the only source, or I should say the quotes utilized, the most atrocious, absurd, insulting quotes attributed to President Trump are utilized within this article, and it's all painted and plastered across the internet that Trump called Americans who died in wars these words that he never called. There's no evidence. The only evidence, and this is not journalism, this is pure gossip and hearsay. That's it. But the only evidence they use to make the claim that Trump called people losers for losing their lives, the only evidence is a phrase multiple sources tell the Atlantic. Then you get to what they do is they weave this kind of tabloid or National Enquirer type of article where they use quotes that he made about McCain, which, by the way, in 2007 and 2008, Democrats and liberals, the same people who revere McCain now, made even worse, far worse statements. I heard the most atrocious things from people when I was on the left at that time. Worse than anything, it's even attributed to President Trump, which is fabricated to begin with. But you look, these sources and others quoted in this article spoke on condition of anonymity. That's because everything was fabricated. I'm not going to accept an article that attributes the most horrendous quotes to Trump as fact. This is not journalism. This is not fact. This is a claim without evidence. What they do is they deliberately weave this absurd tale, this narrative, without fact checkers or without the ability of rabid, hysterical, fanatical fact checkers to eviscerate the writing. Why? Because they can always fall back and say, look, you can't prove we lied. We have sources. You can't prove that we lied. We have sources that tell us. When they said Trump said a statement about an African nation, that was according to a source. When they said Trump gave classified intel to a Russian diplomat, that was a source. This entire 4 years, which is one of the reasons they'll lose, is because sources have been, journalism has become quoting and citing sources as evidence, not an actual email from Trump, not a document Trump signed, not money from a Uranium One into the Trump Foundation, not anything that can pass as evidence. Evidence usually is a fingerprint, an email, an actual quote with Trump making a statement into a microphone. And a hot mic is different, which is like a 2005 hot mic, where, you see how duplicitous the media is. Joe Biden's accused by Tara Reid of actually committing and engaging and doing the criminal acts that Trump talked about that nobody has ever accused him of within a hot mic. So, I mean, let's just read this. These sources and others quoted in this article spoke on condition of anonymity. Gee, I wonder why. The White House did not return earlier calls for comment, but Alyssa Farah, a White House spokesperson, emailed me this statement shortly after the story was posted. How convenient. Shortly after this story was posted. So why don't you remove the story? Quote, this report is false. President Trump holds the military in the highest regard. He's demonstrated his commitment to them at every turn, delivering on his promise to give our troops a much-needed pay raise, increasing military spending, signing critical veteran reforms, and supporting military spouses. This has no basis in fact. President Trump signed a deal to get us out of Afghanistan, America's longest-running war, in late February, early March. This is something that President Obama and certainly Bush would never have done. President Trump is bringing home Americans and removing Americans from Iraq as well. President Trump stopped funding and ended a covert U.S. operation to fund rebels that fomented even greater atrocities in regions of the world. And this is immediately he did that. And of course it was painted as, well, Russia wants this. So if you're not dealing with a dossier, then you're dealing with, if you're not dealing with a dossier purchased by Clinton, then you're dealing with sources. I cannot tell you, I can't say, well, you know what, I heard that you disparaged you disparage somebody because another person told me you did. That's called gossip and hearsay. You're taught at a young age not to gossip. But according to sources with knowledge of the visit, Trump, while standing by Robert Kelly's grave, turned directly to his father and says, I don't get it. What's in it for them? I mean, it's hard enough to actually, when you have a real journalist trying to quote you, it's hard enough for a real journalist, when you're talking to a real journalist, to get for that person to get the quote accurate. Here you have these quotes that are obviously fabricated. These are obviously fabricated quotes. If he stated such horrendous things about fallen soldiers, it comes out 4 years after he's elected, and he's running for re-election. It comes out just a month before. This is how they do things, and then they blame Russia for their actual. So they actually wrote the DNC emails and the campaign emails. That's called election interference. The Atlantic publishes an article that's absolutely. You have to assume it's fabricated because there's no evidence to back it up. There's no evidence. The entire lives of fact checkers in this country is Trump claims without evidence. If President Trump made a claim that said Clinton called fallen soldiers and then fill in the word or whatever, my God, Trump claims without evidence Clinton called people. Trump claims without evidence that Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton or somebody. I mean, this is just the most twisted, warped, insidious. It's not even journalism. It's public relations from a very scorned, and this is why scorned media, and this is why 60% of Americans, over 60% of Americans, don't trust media. And this has happened to Trump all throughout his presidency, and it's taken as fact. Because they have such a low opinion. They can't stand his personality. They can't stand him. So any gossip is seen as, well, of course he said it. I mean, can't you see that Trump said this? And it's funny, the DNC emails and the campaign emails, hacked by Russia, of course, it turned these people into even more sinister Democratic operatives than they were prior to the 2016 election, because now the truth about them was published. So now they said, well, you know what, if you could publish the truth about us, if people can actually read what we wrote, If people know that we cheated Bernie Sanders, if people can know that we actually cheated Bernie Sanders, or there's a Bill Clinton Inc., or there's 500 conflicts of interest, 500 conflicts of interest, and with the Clinton Foundation, and I mean this is all their own writing. Then they said, you know what? Oh, and if we have to paint Bernie as an atheist, it'll be easier to beat him in certain states. And we can go on forever. The truth about them that they wrote, people knew about. And so they react to this. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign in disgrace. 4 other DNC officials were forced to resign in disgrace. They lost the election. They're about to lose the election. And if I'm wrong about Clinton, then it's not even going to be close with Biden. They are propping this man up. They are propping this man up like nobody has ever been elevated before. There's a gaffe every day. It's not just a gaffe. It's like this meandering into, the pandemic caused 100 years. Listen, and it's like very bizarre. And nobody talks. Do you understand? The media does. The media does not even quote Biden. They don't even use the words that come out of his mouth. They use the words of sources attributed to what Trump possibly said, almost certainly did not. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say other than be here at 9 p.m. Pacific. And there's no logic or reason to any of this. There's no way to justify any of this. It is so absurd. It is so utterly absurd. I can't believe this. It's all, you type in President Trump, it's all, imagine if they did this to any other citizen. They would get instant lawsuit because you cannot do that. You cannot say sources attribute a quote to somebody. You are completely fabricating a narrative, a storyline. This might as well be Hollywood. This is not journalism. You can't say, where are the quotes attributed to President Obama? Where are the quotes attributed, Bush, everybody knows he was the worst president we've ever had. But where are the quotes attributed to President Obama? Where are the quotes attributed to Biden that actually come out of his mouth? Every day there's this bizarre meandering and it's not a gaffe. It's like every single day. They're going to roll with this man in the debates. They're going to get crushed. So Clinton will be on that debate stage. And she's the only chance they have. And that should say something about the Democratic Party. But she has the gravitas. She has the I'm with her crowd is propping up Biden. Biden is like the most shallow, hollow, facade, charade, illusion of a candidate. They don't even quote him, yet they fabricate quotes about Trump because we should trust the Atlantic sources. When have they been right? What article have they been right about Trump, Russia? Nobody was indicted for conspiring with Russia. Were they right about impeachment? Where's the evidence? They impeached Trump without any direct evidence. They investigated Trump without any direct evidence. The circumstantial evidence surrounding President Trump was literally purchased by the DNC and Clinton. And the Alexander Downer and Papadopoulos meeting should never have been used as evidence. That too was gossip. They've tried to make the past 4 years into a reality show, but see, that's Trump's world. So you lost there. And now you have, about 2 months or so to give a reason to millions upon millions of people to vote Democrat. You're not going to get the votes needed, Democrats, to win the election, and you're going to lose again because you've tried to turn the past 4 years into a giant reality show by sensationalizing everything Trump, not only Trump says, he literally also never said the racists holding torches were good people or fine people. He never said that. they injected the subtext. They created that subtext and that dog whistling. Oh, well, he meant this. What he actually says, they rewrite into what he truly means, and what nobody has ever heard him say. They then say, well, sources said this. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. Soon, I'm going to be ramping up content on that channel. That's below in the pinned comment. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific tonight. And I had to do this segment. I was going to do this segment earlier, but this is an important segment, ladies and gentlemen, because what journalism has become is simply gossip and hearsay, and that's not journalism. Give me your thoughts below. Be here 9 p.m. Pacific for the live stream.